Welcome back to Next Gen Console Watch, our show following everything happening with the latest gaming hardware. I'm Jim Hatfield. This week, I'm joined by Logan Plant, host of the Nintendo Voice Chat podcast. Logan, welcome back to the show.
Hey, Damon. Glad to be here.
And you were just in San Francisco for the opening of the new Nintendo store there, and I believe you got to sit down with Doug Bowser, the head of Nintendo of America. Only the third person to ever hold that title, I believe, after Minoru Arakawa and Reggie Fils-Aimé. So, Logan, tell me about, well, first of all, let's get, what were your impressions of the new Nintendo store in San Francisco?
Yeah, the store is really, really nice. If you've been to Nintendo New York, this one is very different. It's much more in line with the Nintendo stores in Japan. I think they took the most inspiration from the Nintendo Osaka store. They have the large statues of Link, Mario, Isabelle, the Inkling girl from Splatoon, and then the miniature versions of those statues that you can buy, which they've been doing in Japan for a long time, which is really cute. And just really, really good art on a lot of the products, like this Mario kitchenware set that has this really cool hand-drawn art that kind of looks like Super Mario Bros. 2 from the NES. So yeah, it's a really nice location.
Well, I thought, so your interview is up with, your interview with Doug is up on IGN. You can read that now. One of the things I thought was interesting is that, the Switch 2 is out in less than a month. This new store is opening in San Francisco, but it sounds like there wasn't much focus on the Switch 2 in the store. Is that right?
No, yeah, there was nothing. All there was is there was a TV screen kind of in the back that had one of the Switch 2 commercials running at some point. So it's interesting with the timing of this store opening 3 weeks before Switch 2. They just have a lot of work to do for themselves to get it ready for the console launch after just getting it ready for the store opening. So yeah, it's interesting. And Doug did say they will have the Switch 2 for sale at Nintendo San Francisco. He didn't have any details on like a launch day event, a midnight release or something like that. But yeah, it was very, very Switch focused, which was interesting.
I mean, we know that from our own experience that pre-orders are selling out. I'm sure you're not going to be able to just walk into the store on June 5th, pick up a Switch 2, but it seems like they would want to just sort of like be advertising and celebrating the fact that they do have this new console out, right? They need to spread the word beyond just us early adopters. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I agree. I think that this store is going to be huge. I think that just all week long when we were outside the Nintendo San Francisco store, you had people passing by and saying, "Oh, is this open? Can I go in?" That didn't even know it existed until now. So yeah, it's going to be a big deal for people, and it is a great avenue to advertise Switch 2. So yeah, it was kind of strange.
So pre-orders are selling out. We know this initial batch is, it's already gone. But what about looking at the year ahead? I think Bowser said, Mr. Furukawa, the head of Nintendo in Japan, last week announced that we'll have 15 million units in our forecast for Nintendo Switch 2 and 4.5 million units for Nintendo Switch during the fiscal year. So they're planning on having 15 million Switch 2s out there over the next year into next spring. So they believe, there's going to be enough supply to meet demand for the coming year. Are you surprised by that number for Switch units, for original Switch units, 4.5 million? That sounds a little high to me, although maybe those will be frustrated purchases for people who can't find a Switch 2. What do you think?
Yeah, that one will be interesting. I wonder if there's a price drop in the future. We don't really see console price drops anymore, but if they dropped the Switch Lite or something like that to 150, it's at 200 right now, that could make every unit they have remaining really fly off the shelves. But yeah, 4.5 million is a pretty high forecast. They're trying to chase down the PlayStation 2. They're about 8 million behind right now after Sony found those magical 10 million extra PlayStation 2 units they say they sold. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. They have a lot of Switch 1 software coming though. Metroid Prime 4 is a Switch game. Pokemon Legends ZA will probably be the best-selling Nintendo game of the year behind Mario Kart World. So yeah, they're high on Nintendo Switch, and they're high on Switch 2 also. That has them matching what they did in the first fiscal year for Switch 1s, which was very hard to find back in 2017.
Right. So obviously last year when they fully unveiled the Switch and they unveiled the price, they halted on having pre-orders go live because of the ongoing worldwide economic situation. But then eventually they came back and they kept the price at the announced $450 for the base console. And Bowser's comments was they want to make their products obtainable as we possibly can. How'd you feel about that?
Yeah, that's interesting. And this also goes back to something that Mr. Furukawa said in Nintendo's financial briefing earlier this month, is that they really wanted to try and keep that price point where it was at $450 when they came back after the tariffs. So they said that their biggest priority right now is to kind of jumpstart their install base with Nintendo Switch 2 so they can start selling software to people. It sounds like they're worried about market conditions going forward in the next couple of years and beyond, that maybe the price is going to skyrocket. So they are going to try and keep it at $450 as long as they can, even if that means their profit margin margin isn't as high as they would like it to be. I think already from what we know, the profit margin on Switch 2 is lower than it was on Switch 1. So yeah, that was an interesting statement, but I think that it's really good that they kept the price where it was, because accessories went up a little bit. More niche things like Amiibo went up a lot. They went from $30 to $40 in some cases, which is very expensive for the figurine that used to be kind of the accessible entry into the toy market. So yeah, I think it's an interesting statement for him, saying they want it to be obtainable when a lot of people already thought 450 was very expensive, but it's good they can keep it there at least.
Yeah, it's funny. A lot of us had sticker shock last month when they announced 450. Like the Switch has been $300 since launch for the base model. So Nintendo has just always been the sort of like I don't want to say budget entry, but it's a much more affordable entry into gaming than PlayStation or Xbox. But now that Xbox has raised their prices by 20% and Sony is publicly saying, yeah, we might have to raise our prices too, now all of a sudden Nintendo again feels like the more affordable option. It's just funny how things work out.
They've done nothing, right? They said 450 and they stuck there, and then they kind of pulled that back and came back with the same price. And it's just weird how through basically no action of their own, it went from a very bad PR story to them to, oh, okay, they're the cheapest option again, and that price is actually okay.
Yeah, it's just funny. But of course, the console isn't the only thing that's more expensive than last generation. Some games are going up $80 for Mario Kart World, and from reading your interview, Doug did not seem to want to talk about the backlash to Mario Kart World's price.
No, he didn't. I did ask him about it, and he kind of veered away in the first time I asked about it. So I went back again, I pushed him on it, I asked him again, and basically his answer was, anytime you make a pricing decision, there's going to be some level of backlash, and then he wanted to kind of get back on questions about Nintendo San Francisco, which, to be fair, is what we were there to talk about. That's what the interview was centered around. But of course, I'm gonna do my job and get extra questions in there about Switch 2 when I have the president of Nintendo of America in the room. But he didn't really want to dive into that. I respected that, and we moved on.
Yeah, he gave sort of the same response that he's given in the past, where they look at the value proposition, right, and they try to price it accordingly. Yeah. So they just taking that at face value, they believe Mario Kart World is worth $80. But I don't know how I feel about that, because that's like, okay, so Tears of the Kingdom was not worth $80. Like, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, what's
it's frustrating to me too, because like then you have what I would have gone further in that line of questioning had we gone down that road is that there's the Nintendo Switch 2 edition games, and when those are packaged physically at retail, an example is Kirby and the Forgotten Land plus the Star-Crossed World. That is their new enhanced last-gen port of the Switch 1 game bundled with the new DLC that they're putting out. That is next-gen exclusive. You can only get that DLC on Switch 2. That game also costs $80, and that game takes like 8 hours to beat. And I know it's kind of a different case because they're bundling an expansion pack with the base version, which is still 60 and 20, so combined it's 80. But the argument just falls apart for me when you say we look at the value of the game, we look at the entertainment, the longevity, the development that went into it, when some of their last gen ports also cost $80. So that answer just does not hold up for me, but I wasn't able to kind of get a new answer on that from him.
Another, sort of controversy surrounding Nintendo now revolves these game key cards. Can you explain this situation for us?
Yeah, so the game key card is a new option at physical retail. So if you go to Target or Walmart or something like that, there is a box that will be labeled as a game key card. And inside, there is a physical Nintendo Switch 2 cartridge, but it actually has no game data on it. So it's a key that you put into the Switch 2 cartridge slot, and then it directs you to the eShop where you download that game. And so it has no game data on it. It's essentially like a physical cartridge representing a download code. The benefit to it is that I could lend that game key card for something like, I don't know, Street Fighter 6 to you, and then you could install Street Fighter 6 and play it only when you have that game key card plugged into your Switch 2. So it is a way to kind of share digital games in this funky way with this physical access code to get access to it, but otherwise it kind of has none of the convenience of digital and none of the benefits of physical that people like having the game on the card that people can't take away from you. So it's a funky one.
I mean, if the game is on the cartridge, that's easy to share too.
Yes, it's very easy. Yeah.
I don't understand. Yeah. This can't be a cost-saving measure, right? Because they're manufacturing the cartridge, they're putting the sticker on it. It can't cost them anymore to put the data on it, right?
No, that actually is what this is. Nintendo, if you have a 64 gigabyte card, that costs a lot more to buy and manufacture those physical
Okay.
versions than a game key card, which has no storage space on it. So it is cheaper for third parties to go the game key card route. That is the route Nintendo has opted to offer this generation, and third parties are taking it. Most
Mhm.
third party games on Switch are going the game key card route so far. Cyberpunk's not, but most other ones are.
Well, you asked Doug about this. His response was, "In the immediate future, physical games are still a key part of our business, and we value our relationships in particular with our retailers, and want to make sure we have products available for them to sell to their consumers." I mean, sure, but he's not addressing the fact that, yeah, the retailer has something they can sell, but he's not addressing the fact that people would rather have the game on that cartridge, right?
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see how much these actually sell, and if, because that's what people like about physical. A license expiring or a store shutting down, it can't take that game away from you in theory, and that's not the case here. So with game key cards, they're making their third-party partners happy with a cheaper option to get something on store shelves. They're making their retail partners happy because Nintendo still sells roughly 50% physical and 50% digital. They are far and away the highest ratio still selling physical software in the industry. So they're keeping their retail partners happy. It seems like the people that are the least happy about this are the actual consumers. So it works out for everybody else. We'll see how the market responds.
Well, overall, like, so, what was your feeling? What was your takeaway? I think you've talked to Doug before.
Yes, I have.
He was there primarily to talk about the new San Francisco store opening, but you did get him some questions about price and tariffs and all that. So, what was your sort of feeling after walking away from this interview? And what's your overall take on Doug as the only the third face of Nintendo of America that we've ever had?
Yeah, and a follow-up to the most iconic face Nintendo
Yeah,
of America
yeah,
has ever had, right, with Reggie
yeah.
Fils-Aimé. So he's in a tough spot because people loved Reggie so much. They trusted Reggie. They felt Reggie was a gamer like them. They felt like when Reggie spoke, he was speaking on behalf of them. He was very present in Nintendo Directs. He had a lot of memeable, iconic moments. Like, people love Reggie, obviously.
Yep.
Doug, it's not the same. I think Doug is very nice. I enjoy speaking to him every time I meet him. I've met him like 4 or 5 times now, and I think he's very kind. I think he represents Nintendo very well, and obviously he steered the ship very successfully in the 6 years that he's been in charge. But I just think that the struggle is following in the footsteps of someone like Reggie that people had this relationship with, that they loved and trusted him. I think that it's tough. So when bad news comes along, like the price for Mario Kart World, people react much more strongly than they would if it was Reggie delivering that news. At the same time, I think that this generation of Nintendo leadership handles things a bit differently. Like Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour, Reggie would have made that a pack-in game. That's what he did with Wii Sports. He convinced NCL, that's Nintendo in Japan, to make Wii Sports a pack-in game, and it blew up. Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour costs $10. It's just this nickel and dime nature. They're really not messing around on the money this time, and Doug, to me, hasn't really had a satisfying answer to that. So, yeah, I think Doug is a solid leader for Nintendo. I enjoy sitting down with him every time I do. I wish we could have gone a little bit deeper into some of the Switch 2 stuff I wanted to talk about, but no, overall, I mean, it's just what a crazy year for them. It's a store this week. It's a theme park next week. It's a console launch 2 weeks later. Like, they're all over the place, and I think they're handling it very well.
Well, we're recording this episode on Thursday, May 15th, exactly 3 weeks before the launch of the Switch 2 on June 5th. So you got your pre-orders in 3 weeks ago. Overall, how are you feeling about the upcoming launch of the Switch 2?
I'm feeling very, very good about it. I think that Switch 2 was always going to sell out immediately right away. There's enough hardcore enthusiasts that wanted it that would be there day one. So I think year one is going to be very successful. Every Switch 2 they manufacture, they will sell. I'm personally very excited for Mario Kart World. It's been 11 years since Mario Kart 8. We got 8 Deluxe, we got a mobile game, but we got some DLC, but a new Mario Kart with questions about it and new things to discover. It's so exciting that we're just 3 weeks away from that. I think that the rest of the launch lineup doesn't do a lot for me. It's a lot of ports of PS4 and Xbox One games. It's a lot of enhanced Switch One games, but Mario Kart is the killer app. Donkey Kong's coming 6 weeks later. We have some games for this fall, and they're cooking more stuff up internally that we haven't seen yet. So I think it's going to be really, really successful, really good. The questions for me come in year 2, year 3, once the hardcore have bought this. The Switch One owner who loves Animal Crossing and Stardew Valley, when are they going to get on board? When is that kind of cozy gamer market going to be convinced to spend $450 to upgrade? That's a big question. I think if they're chasing that 100 million mark that Switch crossed, the PS2 crossed, the PS4 crossed, they're going to have to cater back to that casual audience again. And that's a hard sell because this price is a lot higher. So year 1 looks great. We'll see about year 2 and beyond.
One more question while I have you. What's your personal take on when we'll see the next 3D Mario?
That's really complicated because they won't tell us who's developing Donkey Kong Bonanza. And
Mm-hmm.
to me, I played it. I played it at the Switch 2 premiere event in April, and it just had the DNA of Mario Odyssey all over it. I think that game is going to be amazing. I think people are really underestimating it right now because it's not Mario, because it is Donkey Kong, and people are mixed on kind of the destructive elements of it. I played it, and I loved it, and I can't wait to get my hands on it in July. But is that a Yoshiaki Koizumi game? That he's the lead on Mario Odyssey of the Galaxy's 3D World? We don't know yet. He was at the Switch 2 premiere event watching people play the demo of Donkey Kong Bonanza, but did he spin off a smaller team to make this while they're cooking 3D Mario? No clue. No idea. This fall is the 40th anniversary of Super Mario Brothers, so you'd like to think they have something to celebrate that, but I don't know if you put something out that close to Donkey Kong. When do you announce that to not just steamroll over Donkey Kong sales? So I don't know. I don't think this year. I think maybe next year.
Okay. Well, only three weeks to go for Nintendo Switch 2. Obviously, everybody's getting very excited. It's exciting times to be a Nintendo gamer, and exciting times for a show like this that follows next-gen gaming hardware.
Yeah.
I have the results of last week's poll to share. We were talking about Grand Theft Auto 6. Logan, are you excited for GTA 6?
Honestly, not really. Not a GTA guy.
Not a GTA guy? Well, you're a Nintendo guy.
One
so.
of the few. Yeah, exactly.
GTA doesn't have much of a history with Nintendo. There's Chinatown Wars, of course.
Yeah, on the DS. Yeah, great game.
Well, we were asking the audience, where will they play GTA 6? And we were kind of wondering if a lot of people would want to get a PS5 Pro, since it seems like at launch, that will be the best place to play. But the winning result with almost 40% said they're just going to be playing it on their base PS5. That would be followed by Xbox Series X and S, then a PS5 Pro, then a PC eventually. And Logan, only 5% said they hope to maybe someday play it on Nintendo Switch 2.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think that's happening.
Probably shouldn't hold your breath for GTA 6 on Nintendo Switch 2. Okay, a couple of promotions I need to let the audience know about. Over at Humble, you may want to check out the Xbox Games Studio Publisher Bundle. For just $5, you get Broken Age, Sunset Overdrive, and Battletoads. And then for $10, you get those 3 games plus Wasteland 3, Quantum Break, As Dusk Falls, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, and Age of Empires Definitive Edition. And as always, proceeds go to charity. And not only are we 3 weeks away from the launch of Nintendo Switch 2, we are 3 weeks away from IGN Live 2025. It's IGN's in-person fan event. It's coming to downtown Los Angeles on June 7th and 8th. You can come and hang out with us at the Magic Box at the Reef for an exciting live show all weekend long. We'll have huge reveals, interviews on stage with celebrities and your favorite games industry personalities, playable PC, console, and handheld gaming stations, awesome panels, IGN merch, tons of giveaways, and more. You can expect to see Nintendo, Xbox, Netflix, Alien Rogue Incursion, Claire Obscure Expedition 33, Rick and Morty, IDW Publishing, and so many others. You can head over to IGN.com/live to grab your tickets and use code NGCW for a special discount. And that is our show this week. Logan, thank you so much for joining me. I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of you as the Switch 2 comes out.
Yeah, sounds good.
Thank you to everyone working behind the scenes to make this episode possible. I'm Damon Hatfield. We'll be back next week with more of the latest gaming hardware news. We'll see you then. This episode of Next Gen Console Watch was produced by myself, Damon Hatfield, and Jobert Atienza. Technical direction is by Jobert Atienza, with technical production by Marian Franzen and Amir Rakib. Audio engineering is handled by Amir Rakib. Post-production editing is by Jobert Atienza, and graphic design is by Justin Vachon. Next Gen Console Watch is an IGN production and part of the Geek Media Network.